this week.
That is not who we are. That is not who we are.
We will stop the invasion of criminals into our country.
The last weekend of the presidential election, and Kamala Harris and Donald Trump are battling for every vote as Election Day approaches. More in our This Week cover story.
I don't tend to cower in the face of difficulty.
She is a native Nashvilleian and second-generation immigrant who wants to represent Tennessee's 5th Congressional District. You will hear from Maryam Abou-Fazli.
These are bipartisan things.
A new approach to gun violence. The White House wants to use Medicaid money to fund violence intervention programs. Hello again, and welcome to another edition of This Week. Election Day is next week, and the candidates are living in 7 battleground states. More in our This Week cover story. A native Tennessean second-generation immigrant wants to represent Tennessee's 5th Congressional District. You will hear from Maryam Abou-Fazli. But we begin with a new approach to gun violence.
Tonight, as the White House discusses gun violence, Tennessee lawmakers are working to bring those solutions to the volunteer state.
Tennessee is having a horrible problem with gun violence. These are bipartisan things. These are things that we know are really, really bad in our state, and we're really trying to improve upon them.
Nashville Representative Caleb Hemmer taking part in a White House briefing focused on using Medicaid resources to combat the gun violence epidemic.
Particularly when gun violence or even suicides, et cetera, that really occur way too frequently. So we know if we can provide those resources, and that's something the state is really trying to be a leader on.
Last month, President Biden and VP Harris announcing states now have the right to choose to use Medicaid to pay a healthcare provider for counseling parents and caregivers on firearm safety and injury prevention, as well as violence intervention programs.
And so it's really important to learn best practices from other states and also these innovative new programs that are coming through the state so we can have funds to actually impact these problems that we're trying to solve.
At least 7 states have passed laws approving the use of Medicaid money for gun violence prevention. Representative Hemmer's push to learn more about the program comes after seeing how gun violence impacted his district earlier this year. In June, a fight between teens escalated into a shooting at Red Caboose Park in Bellevue. A 13-year-old boy was killed. His 16-year-old sister rushed to the hospital.
If it wasn't for him, I really wouldn't be standing here right now. So as I think about that day, every night before I go to sleep. And it's hard.
Now, in order to access this money, Tennessee has to pass a law first. Representative Hemmer plans to bring it up during next year's session in January to establish a gun violence prevention office in Tennessee. We also reached out to TennCare, Tennessee's Medicaid program, for their response. They did get back to us, letting us know they would give us more information on this later.
Now to our This Week cover story. Election Day is November 5th, but already 60 million Americans have cast their ballots. It comes as both candidates make their final arguments to the American people. ABC's Christiane Cordero reports.
Tonight, the prosecutor turned presidential candidate is making her case in front of tens of thousands of people in Washington and millions of Americans nationwide whose votes haven't yet been cast. Vice President Harris standing with the White House over her shoulder in the exact spot where former President Trump delivered his speech on January 6, 2021, before the attack on the Capitol. In recent weeks, Harris has zeroed in on calling Trump a threat to democracy, amped up by comments made last week from Trump's longest-serving chief of staff, who labeled him as a fascist.
Donald Trump has spent a decade trying to keep the American people divided and afraid of each other. That is who he is. But America, I am here tonight to say that is not who we are. That is not who we are.
Trump today hammering his pitch on immigration, hosting events at Mar-a-Lago and outside of Philadelphia, before rallying in Allentown, Pennsylvania, a state both campaigns consider a must-win.
We will end inflation. We will stop the invasion of criminals into our country. And we will bring back the American dream. We're doing it together, Pennsylvania.
Allentown has a significant Puerto Rican population. Trump's visit comes amid backlash from inflammatory comments made at his Madison Square Garden rally over the weekend, including one where a comedian equated Puerto Rico to a floating island of garbage. Trump's campaign has tried distancing itself from that line, saying it doesn't reflect the views of the former president. But it hasn't commented on any of the other vulgarities from that rally. Instead, today, Trump called the rally a love fest.
The love in that room, it was breathtaking, and you could have filled it many, many times with the people that were unable to get in.
Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
Stay with us. This Week continues in a moment.